Just trying to
Yes.
check.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So last 10 minutes or 15 minutes, we can keep that space. Right.
Yes.
So
Sure.
kind of you. So kind
No
of you.
worries at all.
Nipania, Indore, hosts today an online session on the topic Unlocking Global Careers Through French Fluency. I, Tracy Agrawal, warmly welcome you all to today's session. We are blessed and honored to have with us Mr. Jaivardhan Singh Rathore, an eminent French language expert with over 18 years of distinguished experience in language pedagogy. He currently serves as a faculty member at Shubh Language Academy and holds the prestigious position of academic counselor at Indira Gandhi National Open University. Dr. Rathore is acclaimed for his innovative approach to language instruction, making French both accessible and engaging for learners. As an accomplished author, he has made significant academic contributions, including Chanson en Français and book on Hindi-French expressions. In recognition of his exemplary work in French language education, he was honored with the Senate Medal by the French Senate in 2017 and was awarded Best University Teacher in North India by the French Embassy. We warmly welcome you, sir. I kindly invite you to lead us into the session.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Resi, for that wonderful introduction. That really touched me. At the very outset, I would like to thank everyone for letting me have this chance to talk to all of you. And special thanks to Ma'am Suman Rai Ma'am for inviting me. And also thank you so much to Shyama Ma'am for organizing this event. So I am going to deliver this event about French language. And as you see, the topic says Unlocking Global Careers Through French Fluency. That is going to be the topic for the day. And even before I start, I would like to congratulate all of you here because you have chosen French as one of your subjects, which means that you are interested in this language. And of course, to know more about it, we are going to delve together and you are going to ask questions at the end if at all you have any. So, at the very outset, I'd like to say that this language is there for shaping a beautiful career for all of us. So, please, if at all you have any questions, feel free to ask those questions at the end to me. Without further ado, I like to share my screen and we'll get going. I'll just quickly check if my screen is visible to all of you. Is it?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
All right. Perfect. I'll start. Now, as we can see, the title says Unlocking Global Career Through French Fluency. Now, this is very important that we have to understand what are the future opportunities that French language holds for us. We tend to understand language just from the language perspective, but we also have to understand that language offers us a plethora of opportunities that can shape our career. Now, if we begin with the Indo-French relationships, I think this is something that is very important, and we all understand that there is a lot happening between these two countries. And something very interesting is the fact that what is happening is positive. Why shouldn't we make most of it? As kids, we have seen the presence of France and Europe in our Indian Bollywood system and also in our societies. If I have to quickly talk to you about the Indian connection that we have with French language and France as a country, then I'm sure you all would accept that France is a means of art, fashion, and elegance for all of us. And we have seen that from childhood, we have seen Bollywood films and special tourist attractions that were pictured everywhere in these movies have always attracted us, which means we always had this inclination towards this language. And also movies like An Evening in Paris, which is a very old movie, or Queen or Befikre, they have all shown magical streets of Paris from Eiffel Tower to cute cafes and cobbled streets. So we all have somehow absorbed this French feel in ourselves. And these films, they talk about, of course, freedom and love and self-discovery, but at the same time, they give us this intention to understand as to what this French culture is all about and how we can impart this culture in ourselves and thereby take it up as a career for ourselves. Now, Paris, a dream destination. I'm sure you all have known this iconic monument that is there on the screen, which is the Eiffel Tower, which is a must for photos and proposals, and we have seen it everywhere on internet. Also, Louvre Museum is a place where we have found the famous painting that's called Mona Lisa. Disneyland Paris is again a fun-filled place for families and kids. And Champs-Élysées and Versailles, Chateau de Versailles, I'm sure we all have heard about it in our history books or even our cultural references whenever we talk about France. The point is that there is always this Indo-French connection that we have seen around us. and that can be scaffolded and strengthened with the help of language. And after language come the career perspectives that we can delve into if we do it in a more structured way. Now, as you can see in the next picture, we talk about the two political connections of our countries. On one side, we see Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and on the other side, we see President Emmanuel Macron. So, I'm sure you know about his recent visit to India for being the chief guest at Republic Day Parade on 26th of January 2024 last year. Now, these connections they show that these two countries are entering into a partnership which is going to be very strategic and also very helpful for all the learners of French in India. There were different aspects that were taken up. Not only they talked about partnership for security and sovereignty, wherein between two countries we have developed a trust-based cooperation which aims at strengthening our strategic autonomy, illustrated by close cooperation in the defense sector, including advanced platforms and technologies. Also, these two countries are going to partner for strengthening the international peace and security, where we would be implementing a joint strategy. And last but nowhere least, there's also going to be an exemplary cooperation of over 60 years of on space, spanning launchers, space explorations, flights, climate monitoring satellites, and maritime surveillance, which means that there is so much that is happening between these two countries, and any domain that you take would somehow lead to France as a destination. Now, this is something that can be a little complicated at this point of time to understand. But if we talk about the kind of partnership these two countries are trying to strengthen in terms of people, then President Macron, when he visited, he stressed upon the fact that he would want to have more opportunities offered to Indian students, artists, investors, and tourists. Students is the key word. He did talk about the fact that he wants to foster students' mobility in support, and he spoke about the fact that France seeks around 30,000 Indian students by 2030. So I think we all can find a place among those 30,000 students, provided we speak French and we understand the kind of connectivity we can develop between these two countries. Business ties and cross investments will also be promoted during the visit, as in when he visited, it was about it, and under the banner of France, Make It Iconic nation branding campaign, which has targeted India as a priority country. So we understand that when the bilateral relations, the kind of relationship between these two countries are enjoying, are prosperous, are positive, this is the right time to move ahead in this direction. The kind of languages is taught in our schools, in your school, I think we should make most of it so that in the end, when we learn this language in a deep way, in a profound way, it opens a lot of opportunities for us. Now, moving ahead, we would see that it's also important that there is partnership for the planet. If there are students who are interested in saving the planet and doing something for the environment, definitely this visit was to initiate the climate change, biodiversity, poverty eradication, and the changes which would bring into new technologies into existence. As our Indian spirit talks about Vasudev Kutumbakam and also builds on the successful results of India's G20 presidency and the Paris Pact for People and the Planet. So both these countries are trying to strengthen our efforts to make planet a better place for all of us to live. It also exemplified by joint initiatives such as the International Solar Alliances. This little picture, what I'm trying to paint for you, is to tell you that how these two countries, India on one side and France on the other side, are really concerned about certain parameters which are about security, international peace, people, and planet, and would want to work together. We can be a part of this international project by learning French and showing our interest towards these common projects. Now, moving ahead, if I have to talk to you about the kind of jobs or career opportunities that lie ahead for us after having learned French, then definitely, as you see, Indian professionals are huge and highly in demand in terms of French companies. As you understand the word, MNCs, multinational corporations, multinational companies that recruit people from different and varied backgrounds that are the right fit people for their jobs. Now, the first and foremost area is companies hiring French speakers in India in IT and BPO sectors. Now, after having done your 12th and after having pursued your graduation, one can go for masters as a higher studies, could also stay back in India and pursue jobs in terms of companies which hire French speakers in the sectors of IT, which is information technology, or also for BPO, which is business process outsourcing, wherein many companies, as you see on the screen, Capgemini, TCS, Infosys, Accenture, Wipro, IBM, Cognizant all have their offices in India, and they would want Indian learners who have learned French and they know the Indian system very well to come and join them. And there is a huge requirement of such people. For that, something that is very important is the knowledge of French language, and to also understand how French language operates in French and francophone culture. Now, as you understand, French is not limited to France as a country. It is spoken in so many other countries, including Canada, Belgium. We talk about Africa as a continent. There are many countries in Africa where French is being spoken. So, when we learn French, not only the doors of opportunities open in France, but also in other countries where French is being spoken. What is important is that we have to understand the cultural aspect as well as the linguistic aspect of this language. In terms of jobs that are available to people when they are working for companies that hire for IT and BPO, roles like French process associate, bilingual customer support, French language specialist, technical support analyst, or client relationship manager. So these are direct contact works that are allocated to people who are hired and they work with their French language, the kind of knowledge they have, the kind of cultural capital, the kind of cultural baggage they have to exhibit it and to foster the relationship between the company and our representation as an employee for their side and with the client. And the kind of salary insights we expect for a fresh level at a freshers level can range anything between 3 to 5 lakhs per annum, and those who are experienced, it ranges from 6 to 12 lakhs. I'm trying to show it in a nutshell so that we know that these are opportunities that are there for us. And after having learned French, after having completed our specific education qualification, we can land up in having jobs for ourselves. Of course, these jobs they start in India, but then they can take you to places which can include France, which could be a transference into the main company of that whole organization, or also to other francophone countries if we progress in that area. Now, something very important is that we need to have certifications of DELF and DALF, or even for certain countries like Canada, we need to have TEF or TCF certifications. I'm sure your school is working day in and day out, especially the French teachers, to train you for DELF exams. We're going to talk about it as well because these are the key entries for cracking any job or for cracking any interview. Now, after moving towards IT sector or BPO sector, we also have a lot of opportunities that wait for us in the sector of travel, tourism, and aviation. We have seen that many companies like Air India, Vistara, or Air France, they highlight their international operations and need multilingual staff. They want that people should speak many languages so that when they cater to the audience, which in this case is their clients, they're able to strengthen and build a strong connectivity with them. And that can only happen when we talk to them in their own local language. I'm reminded of Nelson Mandela, who says that if we talk in a foreign language, then the thing goes in the mind of that person. But if we talk to that person in his or her mother tongue, then believe me, that thing or that conversation goes into his or her heart. So I think when we have to really establish heart to heart relationships, then we have to talk to people in their own local language. Of course, an effort is needed from our side, but that lasts forever. I'm sure you must have never forgotten a French flight steward who came to you and talked to you in Hindi when you needed some help. And I'm sure that memory stays forever with us. So, that kind of an impression is when we talk foreign languages. Also, we see that certain travel agencies like Thomas Cook in India, Make My Trip, or Trip Factory, they're emphasizing a lot on their services to catering French-speaking tourists, which includes Francophone world, people from all the countries where French is being spoken. In terms of hospitality chains, we have got big hotels like Taj Hotels, Oberoi Hotels, or Le Méridien. They showcase their global clientele and a multilingual servicing environment wherein people can work and join them. Now, what kind of work can we expect in such situations? We can find jobs in terms of travel consultant. There can be opportunities in terms of being a tour guide, customer service executive, can be cabin crew, can be ground staff, and all these services include the usage of foreign language, which in this case is French. Again, talking about the entry level, of course, it ranges anything between 2.5 to 4 lakhs per annum. I'm again reiterating on the fact that it's very important for us to understand that this language opens a lot of doors in our professional career. And definitely, when we enter into this system, the pay band, the salary could be something which is low, but slowly and gradually with experience, we tend to scale newer heights of our professional career. So we see that when we talk about experienced people who have some sort of experience of a year or two, and they would want to move in the sector of travel, tourism, or aviation, they get paid between anything which is 5 to 8, and then it grows furthermore as per their experience. Now, something which is constant in all these jobs is certifications, which talks about DELF and DALF. Now, DELF and DALF are certifications which are mandatory for proving that we speak French and we understand it at a certain level. We'll talk about these levels in the later part of his presentation, but something imperative is that we have to understand that these certifications are an entry for our professional career. Also, moving ahead, we understand that there are companies who are also hiring people not for IT or BPO, but directly for their MNCs or corporate firms. So there are a lot of companies which are investing in India. And as we talked about the kind of partnership India and France are having in terms of economic growth, we have seen that with the Horizon 2047, there is a lot that's happening between these two countries. And not only there is foreign direct investment that's happening through French companies in India, but at the same time, Indian companies are investing in France. So there is a route which pushes us to go and settle in France if at all we are interested in those sectors. But of course, the catch stays the same that learning and understanding French language with its cultural nuances is very important for us. If I talk about the companies which are investing in India in terms of these MNCs and corporate firms, we see that companies like Sanofi or Capgemini, or we have L'Oreal, BNP Paribas, Societe Generale, Renault, Michelin, Deloitte, Amazon, or S&P Global, all these companies and many more, they're investing in India, and we see there's a strong need of local people to be recruited. Now, they would want people who are culturally strong in terms of India as a background for themselves, but at the same time who have a global approach. Now, in today's time, I'm sure at your school, when you are learning so many subjects, the kind of training you are getting, you are being formed, you are being trained towards a term that's called global citizen. Now, global citizen means someone who knows how the world operates, who is tolerant, who understands languages, who knows how to behave in a multilingual environment, who knows how to act correctly, how to have negotiations with people across the globe. Now, that kind of an approach can be developed only when one knows the other culture. When we not only understand our own ethnicity, our existence, but at the same time we know whom are we talking to. And that kind of an exchange creates our understanding at an international level, which finally takes us to becoming global citizens. I think global citizens is a key term for all of us to understand so that we operate not at a national level, but at an international level. Now, the kind of job people get in MNCs, it depends on the kind of entry they are taking, if it is an entry level job or it is an experience level job. But the kind of job roles are offered generally cater to client relationship manager, business analyst, financial analyst. It can be human resource specialist, marketing executive, or legal advisor. Now you see that the difference between these two kind of job offerings, when we talked about BPO or these were the entry level jobs wherein we also felt that we could get an entry with an easy process. But here, when we talk about MNCs or corporate firms, we generally tend to see that when people have done their technical studies in terms of their MBA or other IT degrees, then they get an easy entry to these kind of jobs. So, if you are planning to go to France for pursuing your higher studies, then believe me, the way President Emmanuel Macron said that they would want 30,000 students by the end of 2030, then there is a huge requirement, huge need of Indian students. They understand Indian students have an openness to acceptance to a lot of cultures, the kind of background we Indians come from, we already are into many languages and we have affinity with so many cultures that we are so easily acquiring and adapting ourselves to any new system. So that's why Indian people or people of Indian origin are appreciated and are given priority in such jobs, but provided that they understand the foreign culture equally well in terms of its cultural operation and the linguistic operations as well. So, this is the time for all of us to strengthen our cultural knowledge and, of course, the linguistic knowledge to be ready to take up these international challenges and these international opportunities. Again, if I talk about the salary insights, you would see that the entry level ranges anything between 4 to 6, and experienced people can go to 15 at the entry level and can go to higher levels as well as per their experience. Again, certifications that are required for these MNCs and corporate firms is DELF, DALF, TEF, or other relevant industry certifications so that we prove that we know French. As I mentioned to you, that French speaking professionals are in high demand in India and abroad. They're very important for career growth. French language, it opens doors to international projects and client interactions, enhancing career prospects in the corporate sector. At the same time, when we scaffold our learning with DELF, DALF, or TEF Canada or TCF Canada certifications, that proves the kind of knowledge we have about this language, not only linguistically but also culturally. Now, why am I emphasizing on the fact that we have to be culturally strong at the same time? It's important that we speak French, but do we know how does culture manifest? How does culture operate in France or other francophone countries? That's again an important part, and I'm sure with the learning that comes with our French teachers, they also impart the aspect of this language. So I would always push you all to not only learn the linguistic aspect but also the cultural aspect. So when we soak ourselves into France as a country or any other francophone country, it becomes easier for us to be a part of that system. I'm also going to show you there are many portals which you can see for yourself, but I've tried to take some screenshots of some portals. For example, Naukri.com, which is one of the portals which talks about the kind of job openings are which are available to French learners or French experts in India. Now there is an opening of for senior process executive in Pune, which is for a level of B2. I'll be talking about these levels, what these levels are, and how does one master these levels. But this is a fourth level in terms of its we start with A1, then we go to A2, then we go to B1, and then we go to the fourth one, which is B2, which is the fourth level. So after having done your fourth level, one can apply for this job. And as you see the kind of job description, it's a senior process executive, and it's in Pune, and they need 1 to 3 years of experience. And of course, they haven't yet displayed the kind of salary they are offering, but definitely it's negotiable at times. You can always apply, and it is something that is there, which is with Infosys, which is a big company, and we understand the kind of career growth we can have once we move into these kind of companies. Also, there's another portal wherein I was checking for jobs. Today morning itself, I was trying to update my PPT just to share with all of you as to what all career opportunities are available. So there was one more which is about French language specialist, which is in Mumbai, and they talk about the kind of the French language expert they need for the voice process. So as you understand, when it is voice process, you need to speak French. You need to understand French. So one has to be strong enough to speak, to read, to listen, and to write. All these four competencies should be properly developed in order to back this job. Now, they have 5 days working, they have two rotational offs, and it is very important that this person has some kind of an experience in French language, definitely, and gets to assist French speaking customers over the phone, resolves queries, and provides exceptional support in both French and English. In terms of the kind of remuneration one is getting is between 9 lakhs to 10 lakhs per year. If you think it's good to begin our career with, we can always think about these kind of jobs. But if we think that we need more, but we have to somewhere start. And once we start rolling the ball and with our career, we get more opportunities which come our way. And that's how we can grow into these fields, because we develop our skills and we also understand how we have to deal people and clients for that matter. We can see that the benefits are pick and drop facility. There's also competitive salary with growth opportunities. So these companies which provide these kind of offerings, they are well secure, they're well safe, and we also understand that they have all sorts of things in place in terms of insurance, the kind of accommodation, the kind of salary they offer, which also means that we have plenty of opportunities to change our jobs and then move ahead in a way which helps us in the later part of our career. These are the screenshots that I took this morning just to tell you that this is all updated, and you yourself can go on certain platforms like LinkedIn, or you can go on Naukri.com or Indeed, or there are many platforms wherein you just type the keyword French language jobs, and believe me, there's a plethora of jobs that would come to your screen. Now, when I say this is the career that I'm trying to show you. I'm trying to tell you that when you learn French, sky's the limit to shape your career. You take an entry in any kind of these jobs, whichever suits you the most, and then you change your career, then you move ahead, you stay in India, you change your jobs, you go for better options for yourself. Or if you wish to move to francophone countries, you can move to those countries as well, depending upon your growth that you wish to take for yourself. But how does that thing come into place? How do you move ahead? You can only move ahead with one important skill, and that is French language. Now, that is the basic thing. But of course, as I mentioned, language in itself doesn't suffice. You have to really go beyond the boundaries of linguistic aspects. You have to also encompass the cultural nuances. For that comes into play CEFR, and I'm sure at your school, your French team, which includes Shyama ma'am and other teachers, and of course, I'm sure Suman ma'am must have also spoken to you about it, about languages, especially about French. We have this opportunity to write international exams. Now, these international exams, they are called DELF, DELF, or DALF, DALF, which are like an entry for confirming and for validating our French knowledge. Now, these certifications are important because when we apply for these kind of jobs after our graduation or after our masters, then they definitely ask the HR. They ask us, "Do you have your DELF certification?" If we say yes, then the entry is smooth. But if we say no, then they ask us to write these exams because they would consider it only valid the point when we show them these certifications. Now, CEFR is Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. Now, in Europe, all the languages, it can be French, German, Spanish, Italian, English, they have tried to segregate in different levels, which starts from the basic one, which is A1, it goes to C2. So it goes in this order of hierarchy, as in the higher level, A1, then you move ahead to A2, then you go to B1, then you go to B2, then you go to C1, and the last one is C2. Normally, it is seen that the fourth level, which is B2 level, is apt enough, perfect enough to apply for any job in India or abroad. That is a level wherein you can express yourself freely, independently in terms of writing skills, speaking skills, listening skills, and reading skills. All these four skills are developed at the same time. So as you can see on the screen, I've talked about all these six levels, A1 being the beginner level, A2 being the elementary level, then comes B1 intermediate, then comes B2, which is upper intermediate, then comes C1, which is advanced, and C2 is mastery. So B2 is a level, as you can see it on the screen, we can engage in complex conversations and understand detailed text. If such is our understanding, then I'm sure we can crack any interview, we can talk to people, we can also take up any theme to discuss and debate. Now, in terms of French, as I already mentioned, that these are called DELF, which in French is said Diplôme d'études en langue française, which is a diploma in French language studies. It is governed by the French Ministry of Education, so it comes from the French Ministry, and you understand the kind of correctness it has, the kind of application it has, and the kind of validity it has. Now, in terms of validity, it is universally valid. You can take this certificate to any part of the globe, and it makes sense. Also, it has lifelong validity, which means that once we have acquired this level, once we have acquired this certificate, it is there for us for lifelong. And you can use it anytime, whenever you are comfortable with your level, as in you feel that my studies are over now and this is the time I have to apply for a job, then these levels, they come very handy. Also, we can see that in terms of these levels, um, the areas are listening, reading, writing, and speaking, because they really want someone to be perfect in all these four competencies, so that it is not biased in terms of I can speak well, but I'm not comfortable writing, or I can read well, but I'm not comfortable expressing some other thoughts in some other ways. So it has to be a balanced approach. And these exams test you on these four parameters. Now, the best part about these certifications is, as I mentioned, they are globally recognized. They give you more of academic opportunities as well as professional advantages. When I talk about academic opportunities, you have this possibility to travel to francophone countries, because when, as Emmanuel Macron, president, was talking about the fact that they would want to have Indian students in France, believe me, if you show in your candidature that you have a B2 level or B1 level as well, then they would give you a lot of scholarships. And scholarships come as a great help in a big way to help support our studies financially. If you don't want to bother anyone for your funding of studies, then believe me, once we do our B2 level and we apply for these scholarships, which are many, and we can always browse Campus France link of the website, there we get a lot of options in terms of what scholarship can I apply for. I'll be sharing the link of those scholarships with Shyama ma'am. Perhaps she could later on share it across. Also, it is important to understand that when we move to higher studies, these French language certifications, they come as a great help, because the kind of funding we get, otherwise At times it is expensive, but it is not very expensive because we would be studying in government universities. So some kind of funding that comes our way through these scholarships, it helps us to take up any kind of courses over there, and then landing up in a job after having done those courses from France or other francophone countries is helping us to develop and shape our professional career. Also, if someone wants to migrate permanently, wants to have a PR or permanent residency in Canada or French speaking other countries, then these certifications are mandatory. I mean, they act as a part of your candidature. In the application process, it is asked to furnish these documents. Also, in terms of personal growth and cultural growth. Now, someone who speaks French, believe me, the kind of engagement, the kind of integration this person is going to have will not be the same if someone spoke just English. Because France is welcoming, welcomes everyone with open arms. But the only little thing is, one should speak French. They would make a little effort, but of course, they have the limitation to understand English. But if you spoke French, believe me, they would be so happy to receive you, to help you, and would go out of the way to make your stay a memorable one. And furthermore, your complete stay, if you want to stay there forever, perhaps, you can always think about it. But the idea is that speaking French will always help you to create an ambiance for yourself, which is positive and engaging for yourself. Also, to boost your confidence, when you speak French, your confidence it is at a different level, and the kind of knowledge you have. We have known that most of the philosophers, excuse me, whom we learn in psychology or philosophy, they hail from France. So, what better can we have an option than to learn and talk about these philosophers in French about their philosophies? I'm sure you know some of them. And when you talk about them, their philosophies, the kind of thought processes they had, everything that comes to French, it also helps us become a better person and to see the world from a different perspective. Now, as you see in today's time, it is very important that we break the shackles of restrictions which force us to think in a specific way or force us to lead our life in a specific way, because a lot of integration is happening, a lot of movement is happening, people are traveling from one border to other, and there's a lot of exchange that is happening in this whole world. We are a part of it. How hard we try not it, we end up being one. Why? Because someone might say that I don't wish to travel abroad, but we cannot stop people from traveling to our country and moving ahead with our cultures and our values. So, in such a situation, it's important that how do we see the world around us? And that world can be seen and understood in a better way if we understand their culture. Now, that is very, very important. Also, in terms of long-term validity, as I also mentioned previously, that these certifications they have no expiry date. They are lifelong valid. So if you have taken them up right away, maybe in a year or two, and you are through with your B2 level, believe me, that B2 level you will have forever for your life. So even after that, you do your, let's say, graduation, or you have done your master's and you wish to apply for French jobs in France or in other francophone countries, or even for that matter in India in French companies, those certificates are a great help for you. Now, in terms of these levels, I'll just talk about two basic levels so that you get a hang of it, you understand how it happens, how is the paper, and what is this whole exam like. So we have the basic level is A1, which talks about the fact that one can understand and use familiar everyday expressions and very basic phrases aimed at satisfaction of needs of a concrete type. For example, when you talk at A1 level, you are comfortable in engaging into any kind of dialogue that you would want to do with a shopkeeper or with someone at, let's say, at supermarket. How do you do that? I'll say a bit in French so that you understand. For example, vous êtes au marché, you're at the market, and you ask the shopkeeper, Bonjour monsieur, je voudrais acheter un stylo. Je voudrais acheter un stylo, which means I would like to buy a pen. And the shopkeeper says, Oui, bien sûr. Vous voulez acheter un stylo de quelle couleur? Vous voulez acheter un stylo de quelle couleur? So the shopkeeper asks, You want to buy which color pen? And then you would say, Je voudrais acheter un stylo bleu. Je voudrais acheter un stylo bleu. I would like to buy a blue pen. And that's how the conversation goes on. Now, this little training that we do at A1 level and then at A2 level and then furthermore at B1, B2 level helps you to take up any kind of discussion, any kind of dialogue at A1 level, because we imagine that when you go to France, definitely you're going to go to stationery shops, you're going to go to markets, you're going to buy fruits and vegetables and a lot of things for yourself. How do you buy it? That comfort comes only when you train yourself with your teachers, with the experts of this language at A1 level. So A1 level helps you to do that kind of listening, that kind of reading, that kind of writing, and that kind of speaking. Also, you are at Paris. You have just gotten down from the airport and you are at the railway station and you are trying to catch your train. And what happens if you're not able to understand the numbers? What happens if you don't understand the timing in French? Then you miss your train and you can miss a perfect occasion to move ahead in your career. So, not to miss that at any cost, we have to train ourselves with these numbers and these alphabets and certain things which are of basic level. So, just to give you a little idea that at A1 level, things are basic, but they are imperative. They are absolutely important so as to create a base for ourselves and move ahead. So, this exam is conducted 4 times a year, but it happens as per the availability of slots for junior students, which means school going students, students like you who are really interested in learning French. So if you're interested, please work very hard for this exam, have your certificates at this time, because later on it becomes difficult. We understand when people are into their graduation or masters, they feel that they have a lot to do and they have so much on their plate that they don't find to involve French learning furthermore. So I think this is a time wherein you are so flexible, you can learn and you have that ease as well. And we have seen that among school students, they have the capacity to be agile, to say their hearts out, and to have a lot of energy to exhibit in the language. And believe me, the kind of ease that we develop in our mother tongue or English or other regional languages, that helps us to work on our French language as well. You might not believe it, but it manifests beautifully. Those who are already multilingual, people like you, people like me who are speaking multiple languages. We speak Hindi, we speak English, we already speak our regional language, adding one more, which is French. And I'm sure you already have it in your curriculum, but adding it in a very sincere way, in a profound way, is going to help you to reach for the sky and for the stars. And also to talk about another level, which is A2, which is a level just above A1, that encompasses little more than A1. We start to talk about things which are about our work, about our school, about our profession, about our educational engagements, and we start to move into past tense as well. Someone asks us, comment vous avez passé votre week-end? Comment vous avez passé votre week-end? How did you spend your weekend? Moi, ma journée, mon week-end était fantastique. J'ai regardé la télé. I watched television. Je suis allé au cinéma. I went to the cinema. J'ai mangé une glace. I ate an ice cream. J'ai passé du temps avec ma famille. I spent some time with my family. Of course, you have to take up some speed. You don't have to speak like that, but I'm just giving you a little idea that what we expect from someone who speaks French at A2 level. So we expect this person to be comfortable in expressing himself or herself at past tense, imperfect tense, past continuous, simple future tense. So these are the tenses. So it is done in a very structured way, in a very academic way, a way which is good for you, a way that tells as to how this learning should happen. And of course, it is evaluated on the same grounds. It would never happen that you are taught in a certain way and then you are evaluated in a different way. They are both hand in hand. So the training happens as per the requirement of the exam. And the exam, as I mentioned to you, it is done by CEFR, which is Common European Framework for References of Languages, which is a standard pattern which expects someone who speaks at A2 level knows tenses of present tense, future tense, past continuous tense in a detailed way. And that's why when you say, I know French, you put yourself in a big trouble. But when you say, I know A2 level French, we understand what you know. And thereby you could say, I know French at B1 level. I know French at B2 level. And that's how you can always enhance and grow your levels. Well, that was a little discussion from my side to tell you as to why is it important to learn French at this point of time, because what we are aiming is coming furthermore and very shortly to us in terms of our career and our professional growth. But that growth can only take place when our base is strong, our foundation is strong, and that all depends on the kind of hold we have on our French language. Well, that was it from my side. I wish you all bon courage, best wishes, et merci beaucoup. Thank you for your patience and for listening to me. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me your questions. Any doubts you have, you would like to move into any kind of exchange, any discussion, please feel free to ask.
Yes, Nishka, Hitansh, any question? Ashima,
No, ma'am, all
Ananya,
clear.
Ashima? Eva, you want to
Ma'am,
ask?
no doubt.
No, no. Eva, Inshira,
No doubt, ma'am.
11th standard. Raishri,
No, ma'am.
even Riddhima, anything? Mahi, I'm sure. Mahi? No? We are so happy this has spoken everything. You don't have
But,
any doubt.
but
I think everything is very clear to them.
Can I ask
yes, ma'am.
one example? Uh, they have no doubt. I understand, but the levels you spoke for example, like présentez-vous at the level of A1, how it should be, at the level of A2, how it should be, and B1 and B2, the levels, same thing, but the levels, it should change. So if you could cite an example like A1, A2, B1, B2, so the children can understand what difference and how they should work. Since we got you here today.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, ma'am. So it's a very interesting question because we tend to understand that présentez-vous, which means present yourself, in French should stay basically same, but it is not that way. So Shama ma'am has rightly pointed the fact that even when we expect someone to speak at A1 level, we understand we talk about our immediate entourage, which means you talk about yourself, you talk about your interests, you talk about your family members, you talk about as to what do you do on weekends in a present tense form. For example, I'll give you a little idea. If I were to do this even présentez-vous, I would be very slow and to give you as to how it goes around. Bonjour, je m'appelle Jay, je suis indien, j'habite à Jaipur, je parle anglais, français et hindi, je regarde la télé, je mange au restaurant avec ma famille, j'apprends le français, I'm learning French, j'apprends le français pour aller en France, pour étudier en France. So I have to be very clear of the fact that I'm going to talk about myself, my immediate environment. And even the teachers are not going to ask me as to what did you do on the weekend or how was your life when you were a child. They're not going to ask me these questions. They're going to simply ask me, quelle est votre nationalité? If at all they feel that whatever I have shared with them is not sufficient or they would like to know more about me, they would ask me present tense questions. Quelle est votre nationalité? Je suis indien. Vous habitez où? J'habite à Jaipur. Quelle est votre profession? Je suis étudiant. So they're going to ask me very basic questions because we understand we cannot break the code or break the rule that we have to go into past tense. No, we cannot do it. We have to stay in present tense. That's what the whole idea about A1 is, that you talk about yourself. So it's a training that one has to do. Now, when we move from A1 to A2, as I mentioned, we talk about our workplace. In terms of students, we talk about our schools, we talk about our universities, and people who are working professionals, they talk about their workplace. And we also move into tenses, which includes past tense. It includes imperfect tense, which is past continuous or a habit that we used to have. So how one goes about it, the person says, not only we find a difference in the kind of language they use, the ease they have, the kind of words they dash in, but also the kind of tenses they use. So a person speaking at A2, we expect this person to say, Bonjour, je m'appelle Jay, je suis indien, j'habite à Jaipur. Le week-end, je suis allé, now I went, je suis allé au cinéma avec ma famille. Nous avons mangé une pizza. We ate a pizza. Et nous avons fait beaucoup de choses intéressantes. We did a lot of interesting things. So everything that I'm trying to say is in past tense. I would also deal into imparfait, which is past continuous or a habit. Quand j'étais petit, when I was small, quand j'étais petit, j'allais chez ma grand-mère. I used to go to my grandmom's house. So this is all the training that happens because they have to ask me questions otherwise. Where did you spend your vacations? I have to talk to them in past tense. They might also ask me, quels sont vos projets d'avenir? What are your future projects? So I'm going to delve into future tense, wherein I'm going to talk to them about my future projects. So that's a complete training that happens, and I'm sure here in your school, teachers along with Shama ma'am, you all are training them as per the required levels. So students need to understand that you don't have to be afraid of the fact that, oh, are they going to ask us everything on the planet Earth about French? No, not at all. They know what one has come here for. If someone has come here for A1, they're going to ask you questions which we expect from an A1 person. At A2 level, they expect things which are done at A2 level. Now, as Shama ma'am asked about B1 as well and B2, at B1 level, then we move ahead and we talk about in our présentez-vous, we talk about society as well as to why am I learning French. For example, I mean, my name stays the same, my nationality stays the same, but I have to scaffold my complete introduction with more content. I could say at B1 level, and I have more of ease. I, as in the candidate, has more of ease because this person has spent more of time, more of hours, more of practice. So the person says, Bonjour, je m'appelle Jay, je suis indien, j'habite à Jaipur, je parle anglais, français, hindi. Le week-end, je regarde la télé et le week-end dernier, je suis allé au cinéma regarder un film avec ma famille. Et pourquoi j'apprends le français? Why am I learning French? You see the ease that person has. The person asks the question himself or herself and then responds and says, pourquoi j'apprends le français? Why am I learning French? Alors, j'apprends le français parce que je veux aller en France pour étudier, pour visiter, pour voyager et pour travailler. J'aimerais bien travailler. I would like to work. J'aimerais bien travailler dans une entreprise française. I would like to work in a French company. So what happens is that we add more of content, and it is also a point of manifestation. So, dear students, please believe me that the more we learn, this is a time wherein we have to exhibit. If you don't exhibit during the exam, when are you going to exhibit your knowledge? Wherein you are going to be evaluated. So please believe me, it is just writing your answer. I'm sure you would put your best foot forward to show someone that this is what I know. So when they ask you something, you do it in detailed way, but don't be imposing either. I'm sure your trainers, your teachers are going to help you how to do it. The way we do it in a very subtle way. I'll give you a very quick trick and tip to do it. We generally follow it fingers. How we do it? So if I have to talk about A2 level, présentez-vous, how I train students or how I tell them, you have your 5 fingers of the hand. You talk about yourself. You say, bonjour, je m'appelle Jay. And then you talk about yourself. Je suis indien, j'habite à Jaipur, je parle anglais, français et hindi. Le weekend, whatever you do on the weekend. Then you jump on past tense. You say, pour mes vacances. Have a catchword for my vacations. Pour mes vacances, je suis allé à Goa. Now give them a little experience of your Goa trip or any other trip. You went to Paris, you went to any other, you even went to a village or any place, you talk about it. This is a beautiful experience of your own that you really did for yourself and you work on it and you talk about it. Use past tense over here, use reflexive verbs over here, use imparfait over here. Try to show them I know it. This is the time you have to show it. They are not going to ask you, can you talk to me in past tense? No, they are never going to ask you that way. You have to ensure that you give them through your expression of past tense of your visit to your village or to Paris or to Delhi or whichever place. And then you say, en ce qui concerne mes projets d'avenir, as far as my future projects are concerned, you talk about your future tense. I want to go to France, I want to do this, I want to do that, and then jump on to another finger of yours and tell as to why learning French has been a motivation for you. Talk about it in detail. Here you can always talk about flowery words and French expressions. For example, there is an expression which is very simple that says, where there's a will, there's a way. In French, we call it vouloir, c'est pouvoir. Vouloir, c'est pouvoir. So we scaffold our learning to exhibit our cultural nuances as well. And in the end, at the 5th finger, you can always talk about your interests and your hobbies in a detailed way, wherein you can show them that I'm not just for French, I'm for many other things. And that's how it shapes my complete personality. So when you do through these fingers, you don't forget, you do not end up messing your things up, and you don't even say, oh, I wanted to say this and I forgot. So that's a little training that one can do and we all can do for ourselves. And that's how we move ahead. Yeah.
Merci, monsieur.
Oui, merci beaucoup.
Merci.
Merci, madame.
Shreshi, nous allons
Oui, madame.
I hope
Au revoir, merci.
Christopher is there. There is there? No, she's left. Anyway, you start.
On vous remercie, Dr. Rathore, d'avoir pris du temps pour partager l'information sur les carrières diverses accessibles. On espère de vous revoir bientôt. We would also like to thank our principal sir for providing us with this wonderful opportunity and for his continued support and promotion of the French language. Bonne journée à tous. À bientôt.
Merci beaucoup.
Yes.
Bonne journée. Thank you
Ashish,
once again.
Merci.
Ashish sir, we can log out.